Hello children, hope you all are fine by the grace of the Almighty God. Before taking our class, I'll just ask you some of the questions which is very simple and I hope you will be able to answer me. My first question is, do you like horror movies? Some of you might say, yes, I love horror movies, but few of you will say, no, I don't like horror movies. So there are so many Bollywood movies you might have watched, like Kanchana 1, 2, Saga, or 1920. There are so many movies you might have watched. Okay, but have you ever watched the Hollywood movies like the Mummies and all, the Mummy Returns and all? So if you had watched the Mummy, so you might be having some idea about what a mummy is. A mummy is nothing but a dead body wrapped in bandages. So, but dear children, we should not just guess any answer, because we have to go to a dictionary to find the answer. So according to Oxford Dictionary, a mummy is a dead body of a human being or an animal that has been ceremoniously preserved by removal of the internal organs, treatment with natron and resin, and wrapping in bandages, especially in ancient Egypt. So this is the definition of a mummy. So in dictionary meaning of I have marked in that definition about the natron and resin. So natron here means it is a mineral salt found in dried lace beds consisting of hydrated sodium carbonate, and resins are of two types: a sticky flammable organic substance insoluble in water, or a solid or liquid synthetic polymer used as the basis of plastics, adhesive, varnishes, other products also. So in simple words we can say that natron is a salt and resin is a kind of gum. You can say gum or fevicol or anything you can relate to. So now the question is, why did the Egyptians preserve the body? This comes into our mind when we read the chapter. So why the Egyptians preserved the body? Because the Egyptians believed that the mummified body was the home for the soul. So their belief is that the mummified body was the home for the soul or the spirit. If the body was destroyed, then the spirit might be lost, for they believe in afterlife. So they preserve the body. So here are some images you can see on the screen, images of the mummy, and when you look at the images of this mummy, I have selected the images of pharaohs. Pharaohs means kings. So I have selected the images of pharaohs because the coffin, when you look at the coffin, it is made up of gold. So here are the images of king and queen. So when we are talking about the Egyptian country and all, so you might have known that these Egyptians belong to a country named Egypt. But where is this Egypt located? Yes, you can look at the map. It is in Africa. It is in Africa. You can see it. So when we are talking about Egypt, there are so many things in our minds, like the mummies, like the pharaohs, like the pyramids. So you might have watched in the movies or in any pictures about pyramids. But what are these pyramids? Why they were built in ancient Egypt? Pyramids were built for religious purpose. Egyptians were the first civilizations to believe in afterlife. So this was the first reason why they had built pyramids. And the second reason is, most pyramids were built as tomb, the final resting place for Egypt's royalty, who took all their worldly possessions with them. So this is the second reasons why they built pyramids. So my dear children, you might be now thinking, why my teacher is talking about all these things, about the mummies, about the Egyptians, about the pharaohs, about the pyramids and all? Because my dear children, today we are going to learn a chapter from prose lesson that is from on the textbook of class 11, Discovering Dut, the Saga continues by A.R. Williams. So before going to the going deep into the chapter, let us first know who is the author of this chapter. The author of this chapter is A.R. Williams. So A.R. Williams is a former senior writer for National Geographic Magazine and online news. Her specialization is in the field of archaeology, about which she writes about places varying from Egypt as far as Alaska. These appear as a monthly piece for the Ancient Worlds sections for the National Geographic Magazine. She also writes about new discoveries that take place. So in short, if you want to remember who the author is, number one point is that she is a senior writer for National Geographic Magazine. Number two is she is an archaeologist. So what is archaeology? According to Merriam-Webster, archaeology is the study of material remains such as tools, pottery, jewelry, stone and monuments of past human life and activities. This is archaeology. Okay, so here is a picture of A.R. Williams. You can relate it. Discovering Dut, the Saga continues, is written by A.R. Williams. This chapter deals with the mysteries and various theories regarding the life and death of the youngest ruler of ancient Egypt, King Tutankhamun. His tomb was discovered in the year 1922 by Howard Carter, an archaeologist. On 5th Jan 2005, the mummy King Dut has been subjected to X-rays and later a CT scan. These investigations have answered a lot of questions and offers a new clues on his life and death. Now comes to the theme of this chapter. The chapter Discovering Dut, the Saga continues, is a description of the exploration conducted by a team of researchers. It gives an account of the struggles the team faced to solve the mystery of the death of teenage ruler King Dut. So here we can see that the researchers or the archaeologists have faced so many problems during solving the mysteries and the death of the teenage king ruler, King Tutankhamun. The story highlights changes in the methods of archaeology from a new decades back to the present era of modern technology. It gave us an idea about the kind of exploration conducted in 1922 by Howard Carter when there was no modern technology at that particular time. So it also helps us understand the revolution in the field of archaeology, which is due to modern equipments and sophisticated methods like computed tomography or CT scan, which are being used to give more accurate results. So with the help of these themes, we will came to know about the depth of this chapter, about the work, the hard work, the difficulties these archaeologists findings. Okay, so we were talking about King Tutankhamun, and now question is, who is this King Tutankhamun? So King Tutankhamun, widely known as King Dut, he was the last heir of a powerful family that had ruled Egypt and its empire for centuries. He was just a teenage when he became a ruler. He also changed his name to Tutankhamun, reigned about 9 years and died unexpectedly. His mummy was the first to be examined by using a CT scan. So this is about Tutankhamun. So children, if you want to remember who Tutankhamun was, then you must remember point number 1, that Tutankhamun was known as King Dut. The second is, he was the last heir of a powerful family that had ruled Egypt and its empire for centuries. He was just a teenager when he became a ruler. He also changed his name to Tutankhamun, reigned for about 9 years and died unexpectedly. So when we are talking about the pharaohs, the kings of the Egyptian times, and when we are talking about discoveries and all, so when somebody someone has discovered King Tutankhamun. So who was that person who discovered King Tutankhamun, and when? So the question might come like this: when was King Tutankhamun's mummy discovered and by whom? So you have to answer like this: on 4th November 1922. Remember, my dear children, on 4th November 1922, a British archaeologist, Howard Carter, had discovered his tomb from the Valley of the Kings. So, my dear children, when these archaeologists are doing something, researching something about the past history of the remains of the dead persons, then their findings will be recorded. So we'll see what were the findings of Howard Carter in this particular chapter. In this particular chapter, Howard Carter had founded, number 1 is the tomb of King Tutankhamun, and number 2 is the tomb was laden with gold and richest royal collections. Number 3, he found that King Dutt's everyday things were buried with him, like the board games, bronze razor, linen garments, cases of food, wine, etc. and etc. So he also founded the 3-nested coffin that was investigated by him later, and it was very difficult to investigate that 3-nested coffin of King Tutankhamun. And the next finding was, when he cut the 3-nested coffin, the first coffin was containing shroud decorated with garlands of willow and olive leaves, wild celery, lotus petal, cornflowers, all these flowers. From these clues, he was able to identify the months of the death of King Tut. The next finding was the ritual resin hardened cementing mummy to bottom of solid gold coffin. So this was the last finding he founded, that it was very difficult to take out the resins of the mummy. So here you can see some of the pictures of treasures of the pharaohs and the everyday things King Tutankhamun wants to be in afterlife. So there were so many difficulties at the times of investigations. So what were those difficulties faced by Howard Carter? Those were that Howard Carter took 10 years in search of King Tutankhamun's mummy. So he took 10 years in search. So it is not an easy job. It is very, very difficult task. So one of the coffin put Carter into trouble. When he was investigating the coffin of King Tutankhamun, so the one of the coffin was very hard. The gum used to paste Tut to the lowest of the solid gold coffin was toughening enough that made him impossible to displace. He was very much disturbed because he was not able to remove the resin because it was very tough. So he put the box in the sun for numerous hours so that the resin loose up, but that didn't work. So he tried so many things to loosen up the resin of the King Tutankhamun's bandages. Okay, but it was very hard enough. So at last he removed the adhesive with the chisel and hammer. So he has to use chisel and hammer to remove the resin that was wrapped in the mummies of King Tutankhamun. After the process of removing all the parts, they place it on the layer of sand. They kept the parts in the wooden box and placed it in the original place. So these were the findings of Howard Carter, an archaeologist who discovered the tomb of King Tutankhamun in the year 1922. So when you read the text, there is a statement by Zahi Hawass. He said that the mummy is in bad condition because of what Carter did in 1920s. So he had said this statement by because Howard Carter had used chisel and hammer to remove the resin, and during the removal of these resin, the condition of mummy was destroyed. So that's why here Zahi Hawass stated that the mummy is in bad condition because of what Carter did in 1920s. So who is this Zahi Hawass? When you read the text, it is there. Zahi Hawass is the Secretary General of Egypt's Supreme Council of Antiquities. In short, you can say that he was the head of all the archaeologists. So my dear children, there were various processes of investigation by researchers or archaeologists. The first point is, first they were more interested in details of the artifacts when there was no modern technology. In those days, in the days of Howard Carter, in the year 1922, there was no modern technology, so they were showing their keen interest only in the artifacts. The second point is, by using more sophisticated tools in modern area, they were more interested in finding the details of life and death of King Tut. So during the passage of time, modern technologies came up, then it was very easy for all the archaeologists to identify the details regarding the life and death of King. So in 1968, an anatomy professor extracted mummy and revealed an astonishing fact. So in 1968, an anatomy professor who had revealed the x-rays of King Tutankhamun, and he had founded so many facts during the investigation. The last points regarding the various process of investigation by archaeologists is that thanks to National Geographic Society and Siemens and its manufacturer who had donated portable scanner, that is the computed tomography or CT scan. The researchers have discovered many precise data for accurate forensic reconstruction. So forensic reconstruction is the process of reconstruction of the face and body based on the information in the CT scan. So this is the images of computed tomography or CT scan. So this is the forensic reconstruction of King Tutankhamun. So this is the forensic reconstruction. First he was mummy, and the second one is the image of a new boy. There were difficulties at the time of CT scan. Number one point is, when some people had taken out the King Tut from its resting place for CT scan, then a strange and unnatural wind appeared like a devil and was blowing so fast. This was one. The second one was that night the scan, workmen carried Tut from the tomb in his box. They rose it on hydraulic lift into a trailer that held scanner. Point number 3, initially scanner could not function properly due to sand in cooler fan. Then they substitute the cooler fan with a pair of plastic fans. So I just want to tell you that why these difficulties there in the time of CT scan, because the belief of those people, the belief of the Egyptian people is like that when you take out the dead body of any mummies, then they believe that you are disturbing the soul or the spirit of that mummy. So because of that belief, they are thinking that the CT scan work was delaying because of these facts. The result of CT scan. So the CT scan showed image of King Tut's entire body clearly, and it showed grey head, neck, vertebrae, a hand, several images of rib cage and a section of skull. Then after the CT scan was success, then Zahi Hawass, who was the Secretary Council of Egypt's Supreme Council of Antiquities, was relieved that nothing had seriously done. So in the end of the chapter, you can see the statement given by Zahi Hawass. It was like this: I didn't sleep last night for not for a second. I was so worried, but now I think I will go and sleep. So this was the statement given by Zahi Hawass, and with this statement we can guess that the work of an archaeologist is not at all so easy. It is very, very tough. It is very hard that they don't have a nice sleep at all. So what is my findings in this particular chapter? That there are some belief or there are some superstitions in this chapter when you read the text. If you read the text, there are some of the hints that comes from the text. The first one, I found that when you read this particular line from the text, the beginning itself, an angry wind stirred up ghostly dust devils as King Tut was taken from his resting place. When the workmen of the archaeologists or the researchers, the team of researchers had taken out the tomb of King Tut, that time what happened? There was a angry wind that stirred up ghostly like the devils. So these are some of the hints of belief or superstition of those people living there. When you go on reading, there will be another sentence like this: wondering with a shiver if the Pharaoh's curse, death or misfortune falling upon those disturb him was really true. So these are some kinds of sentences that A.R. Williams had written to make the chapter so interesting, because she wanted to make it like horror movies or like that. So because of these sentences, if you read the text, you will be very excited of how they were working when these archaeologists had taken out the tomb of King Tut. We can see another verse we can see in this chapter is, the $1 million scanner had quit because of sand in a cooler fan. Curse of Pharaoh, joked a guard nervously. So even the guard of that particular place also had some kind of superstitions or belief that it was because of the curse of the Pharaoh, curse of that particular king, because he was disturbed by taking out from his tomb. So if you read out the stories, it is very interesting. You have to go into the depth. You should not be confused with the dates and all, because Howard Carter had discovered the tomb in 1922 and Zahi Hawass came, and then now the CT scan is in the year 2002. So you should not be confused with all these dates. Go to the websites, go in Google and search who was Howard Carter, how did he investigate or how did he discover King Tutankhamun. Like that, if you go on, then it will be very easy for you. So this is the findings, or these are some of the important points that is inside the chapter, and I hope you all might have understood who King Tutankhamun was, the mystery and theories regarding the life and that of the youngest ruler in ancient Egypt, and we had learned the various process of investigation and finding clues, and we also had studied about the difficulties arises at the time of investigation and finding clues, and we also had a knowledge of who the archaeologists are. So this is some of the points that we had covered in this chapter. My simple question for you is, my dear children, do you like the story? If you like it, then it is my humble request to go and read the text and go into the depth of it, search it, dig it out, and you will be able to explore many things which you might have lost it during this video, but if you go to the text, you will be able to explore more and more. I have given you just the gist, but you have to go and explore it yourself. Then you will be very happy of digging all these things from the Google or anything. My next question is, what were the facts that amaze you? There are so many facts in this particular chapter. You have to go through it and find out your facts. Find out the facts that amaze you the most. Okay, my next question is, what is your opinion regarding the superstitious belief of the people in this chapter? So it is your choice. What is your opinion regarding the superstitious? Then my next question is, what makes archaeologist's job so difficult? Is it very difficult to become an archaeologist? Yes, it is very difficult, but their works are very exciting and very adventurous. So that's all, my dear children. Thank you. Have a nice day.